Good morning, everyone. I'm Christopher Clinton Conway, and I am the CEO of the Dr. Susan Love Foundation for Breast Cancer Research. And we're thrilled that you are here with us this Friday morning. And the three ladies behind me are my mother, my Aunt Connie, and my Aunt Chris, who are watching from Northbrook, Illinois. Hello. And walked for Team Land of Lincoln in our virtual walk. Two of our brand values that I wanted to mention are innovation and collaboration. And that's why we're producing this web series of fundraising, communication, and community relations to help other organizations and individuals out there working in this desperate time. So it is now 9 o'clock and I'm already getting questions, which is fabulous. I'll save those questions for our panelists at the end, but please submit them at any time through the webinar Zoom. So let's kick off. Punita is our first speaker. Punita is our Director of Community Relations, and she will be followed by Madison Shear, who is our Events Manager, and then Bailey Putman, who is our Marketing and Creative Manager. So without further ado, Punita.
Thank you, Christopher. In community relations, our approach is to inform, inspire, and involve our supporters. By assessing their desire to help us, I determine the best way to engage with them so that the relationship is mutually beneficial to both our supporters and the foundation. These relationships increase visibility of the foundation by offering a personal touch to our dedicated supporters, resulting in donations, sponsorships, event attendance, and potential board members. Our signature event is our Walk with Love, which has been held in May at the same location for 12 years, attended by approximately 400 walkers every year. Our supporters look forward to the event and usually have it calendared a year in advance. Next slide. For this year's walk, we expanded to 3 locations, a first for the foundation, spanning across the Southland in Santa Barbara to Pacific Palisades and all the way to Palm Springs to increase our visibility in a wide geographic area. Our planning entailed coordinating logistics for all 3 locations, completing park permits, street closure notifications, recruiting sponsors, and developing a comprehensive marketing and communications plan. And by early March, approximately 100 walkers had already registered for the event. Given the unusual circumstances of the COVID-19 outbreak earlier this year, we, like everyone else, had been monitoring the pandemic and response. And on March 19th, Governor Newsom and Mayor Garcetti issued a safer at home order, asking residents to limit all activities outside of home except for what was deemed absolutely necessary. As we began absorbing this new reality for our professional and personal lives, we had to decide fairly rapidly what to do about the walk. It is our signature and largest fundraising event of the year. Next slide. With the turmoil surrounding this crisis, was it reasonable to expect individuals to participate in a walk when their own lives were in an upheaval? Would these restrictions be in place in 2 months? How safe could it be? No one knew. And our walk is a fundraiser. How could we encourage people to donate when they may have recently lost their job? Would that be insensitive in the midst of this crisis? We had to strike a delicate balance between our commitments to fund breast cancer research studies and the unprecedented pandemic that demanded everyone's attention. Our strategy evolved in real time. With these unknowns, we decided to take a risk and not let down the supporters who had already registered, so we pivoted to a virtual walk. Initially, we believed it would be a smaller event. But since most registrations come within the few weeks closer to the event, we decided to inform all of our supporters about the change to a virtual walk. Everyone at the foundation quickly shifted their roles. Next slide. I embarked on an aggressive outreach strategy. Using a list of past walkers, I made over 200 calls, followed by personal emails, and reached out to this group. We considered this group crucial to our success since they had participated in previous walks, so we believed may be receptive to participating in the walk again under the new virtual guidelines. Because the situation was so fluid, my outreach efforts needed to acknowledge the dynamics of our world and be sensitive to how our supporters may respond. We know they support the foundation because of their deep belief in Dr. Love's mission to eradicate breast cancer. Our donors have either been diagnosed with the disease or know someone who has the disease, so they are emotionally invested in supporting breast cancer research. My call strategy began by segmenting the list by teams. Many teams had identified a team captain, so I started with this person. I introduced myself as a representative from Dr. Susan Love Foundation and asked how they were doing. Since everyone was also working from home, my phone calls were answered, and most individuals responded positively and were happy to speak with me. I began with the presumption that their team was going to walk and asked if they needed assistance in registering. I enlisted the support of the team captain or another member of the team and informed them that the walk had been changed to a virtual walk, and I wanted to ensure that they were aware of the registration process and the new guidelines. After the initial conversation, I called the other team members to inform them that the team captain would be reaching out to them. I explained the rationale on pivoting to a virtual walk, which was expanded to include any fitness activity, even in their own home, should they not be comfortable in an outdoor setting. This way, they could still support breast cancer research, a cause that was meaningful to them. Now, the most rewarding part of these calls was that with more free time available to talk, many individuals shared their connection to Dr. Love and their reasons for supporting the foundation. I believe that the continuity of a familiar event gave everyone a sense of calm and purpose. I assured them that we remained as productive as possible under the circumstances, which is something everybody related to. I could see that my candor and honesty was appreciated, and my belief is that everyone was grateful for a little bit of normalcy in these troubling times. With the combination of the efforts of my colleagues at the foundation, our supporters responded, our confidence grew, and we began to envision our virtual walk expanding beyond the Southland to all over the world. I'll now turn it over to Madison, who will discuss planning and logistics for the virtual walk. Thank you.
Thanks, Panita. As Panita just talked about, we were very quick to act on this shift. Being based in California, we had a chance to observe the global impact of COVID-19 before government restrictions were actually put in place here, and we didn't waste that opportunity. We realized that even if our event wasn't canceled because of a legal mandate, it was still our responsibility to prioritize the health and safety of our supporters. So rather than just wait it out and hope for the best or cancel preemptively, we immediately prepared a new plan while we were waiting for news, which was to convert the entire event to a 100% virtual experience. And there were a few logistical steps that needed to happen right out of the gate. First, we had to revisit our timeline and event budget and map out what this new process would look like, just to make sure it made sense logistically and financially. For example, we needed to think about the process of shipping t-shirts to everyone instead of having them available for pickup, like we would normally have at our in-person event. We had to make sure that these shirts and any incentives could even be produced in time, since many companies that create promotional items are very backed up due to reduced staff and shipping delays. We brainstormed ways that we could incorporate pieces of our in-person walk into a virtual format to help the transition be as seamless as possible, like providing custom walker bibs and doing a virtual welcome video from Dr. Love. So there was a lot to consider at this stage, but because we were proactive and collaborative, we moved through it very quickly and shifted into the next step, which was checking in with our supporters about the change we planned to make, again, as Punita was discussing earlier. We made a point to call every single registered participant, every team captain, our sponsorship prospects, and many of our regular Walk with Love participants who just hadn't had a chance to register yet, letting them know of our proposed virtual solution. We listened, we asked questions, and we learned ultimately that people were still very excited that they could continue to support Walk with Love. At the same time, we learned that corporate sponsorships were becoming a less likely source of revenue due to the situation at hand. So this informal research being conducted by our staff showed us that we needed to shift our event goals to be more achievable and also reflect the interests of our community. So that's what we did. We reevaluated our goals, which were specifically set for an in-person event. And while we knew that corporate sponsorships were unlikely due to the widespread economic impact of COVID-19, we learned through our extensive outreach that people still wanted to support us, and we took that very seriously. We had an opportunity to think beyond a financial goal and focus on engaging our community in a unique way. We also weren't limited to people who could physically attend a walk in one of our California locations. So we came up with these new goals: to increase global participation and representation, increase digital engagement with supporters, and curate new content from our participants through challenges and incentives. And this includes photos, videos, and quotes that would be submitted to us on social media or as part of a fun photo challenge, which Bailey will share about shortly. Next slide, please. So through an amazing effort by our whole foundation staff, we achieved every single one of our goals with the support of our fantastic community of donors, a few local sponsors, and our Walk with Love teams. You can actually see a sample of these teams on the left and how they did an amazing job of reaching those goals. The pink bar indicates achieved goals. In total, we raised over $85,000 and still counting. We had over 500 participants in 34 US states and 7 countries, with nearly 450 new donors and walkers overall. Our social media was flooded with photos of people in their Love t-shirts. Again, if you want to take a look at those on the screen here, we've got some really, really cute ones from all of our participants all over the world. And we received over 100 photo challenge submissions of teams and individuals across the world walking in their neighborhoods, their backyards, or again, as Punita mentioned, doing any fitness activity of their choice. So we were really pleased with those outcomes. Next slide, please. The reason our fundraising remained successful through all of this is because in turning the focus onto personalized engagement with our donors, we also emphasized the importance of peer-to-peer fundraising. We used an online fundraising platform called Classy that gives all registered participants the chance to fundraise as individuals or as teams using personal online pages. And it's those teams that really became the star of this virtual event. People across the world have been feeling very isolated while adhering to safer at home orders. So the idea of a virtual team was quite appealing. We started building interest in the idea of teams by first engaging our staff. Many of our staff created their own teams to share with their friends and family, and that helped us create a baseline for other potential team captains, since people could see during the registration process that a few teams were actively fundraising and recruiting walkers already. And you'll see on the screen here, Dr. Susan Love's team page, which we highlighted frequently in our digital outreach. And this became an easy way for people to feel personally connected to Dr. Love if they didn't have their own team that they wanted to create. And you can see here, she received a lot of support, lots of members. She did a great job with her goal as well. She surpassed her fundraising goal. And through all of this, we were able to successfully communicate the impact that teams can have. And once the idea was out there, teams really started to take off. That said, creating and joining teams does take some technical understanding. And it's very important when talking about virtual events, not to assume that everyone is tech savvy. Otherwise, you risk running people off before they even have a chance to get started. So we created, on the left, you'll see here this comprehensive fundraising toolkit to help educate people on how to create a team, how to invite people to join or donate, and sample language for letters, emails, and social media posts about Walk with Love. We included the downloadable toolkit in everyone's confirmation emails, so they could immediately have some guidance on that. And we also featured it in all of our e-blasts to make sure that it had visibility. By showcasing the idea of these virtual teams, it became about working together to make a bigger difference. And it was a simple change in mindset that resulted in the creation of 42 teams, our largest team having 70 walkers across 5 states and 2 countries. And together, all of our teams raised over $60,000 for the foundation. It's these successes that made us see how worthwhile it was to make all of these adjustments early and strategically. It never felt like this was an accident or even a backup plan. It was just a new, exciting way of connecting to our community, and we're very happy with the end results. And with that, I'd like to pass it off to Bailey to share more about the marketing strategies that set us up for success.
Thank you, Madison. Hello, everyone. Today, I'll be presenting on the marketing and communication strategy behind Walk with Love Virtual 2020. I'll be touching on a few key marketing strategies that made our event successful. First, in order to communicate our shift from an in-person event to a virtual one, and continue to inform and engage our supporter base, the marketing team deployed consistent e-blasts, e-newsletters, and posted on social media. So Facebook, LinkedIn, Instagram, and Twitter. We also announced our shift via a press release and utilized our media sponsors for ad placements. We took a more aggressive approach to our digital marketing communication for this event, blasting emails to our entire list with more frequency than we have done in the past for a local event. Going virtual meant our audience had shifted from 3 cities to a global group of potential walkers, and there were no geographical limits on participation, and this message was key to growing our registration. We continued to communicate how our event changed, what it looked like for walkers, and reassured them that although this was a virtual walk, it would still have a similar feel to our traditional Walk with Love. And lastly, we wanted to communicate to our entire supporter and donor base, even if they weren't planning on attending Walk with Love, that we would continue the dedication to our mission and that we're not slowing down despite the pandemic. Next slide, please. We turned an in-person local walk into a global virtual event while maintaining these 3 key features of Walk with Love. Number 1, we made it personal. Our initial announcement to go virtual was a personal letter from Dr. Susan Love that appeared in our e-blast, on social media, on our website, and in a sponsor newspaper. And moving forward, all email communication started with a letter from Dr. Love addressing our progress and encouraging supporters to join her personal walk team. We also pulled back the curtain on Team Love, as we like to call ourselves. We engaged our staff to show our continued enthusiasm for the event, and we capitalized on a popular trend going around the internet right now where we asked staff members to send us a video of them tossing their love shirt, and then we strung them together to create a fun video to emphasize that we're together even when we're apart. We also encouraged our research teams in Guadalajara and Madrid to participate for the first time, and we asked them to send us videos so that we could share them with our social media. We continued to produce creative content like our Mother's Day Walk campaign where staff moms wore their love shirts with their kids, and we posted a Walk for Mom message alongside it. And then the morning of the walk, we sent out an email with a Dr. Susan Love welcome video. And this was similar to the speech that she does in the Palisades, and it just showed our walkers that we're thinking of them during their walk and welcome them to their 12th annual Walk with Love. We also made it engaging. We knew we wouldn't be able to take our own Walk with Love pictures, and we wanted to be able to share everyone's walk, so we created photo moments. We strategically chose our love shirts because they were bright, they were bold, and they stood out in photos. We created these Walk with Love bibs where walkers could write what or who they were walking for and their location, and with the idea that they would take a picture with them and post them on social media. And we also created a photo challenge where we encouraged walkers to tag us and send in photos. And then the most creative individual and team photo gets a dedicated social media post and shout out. And then finally, we made it a community. Everyone walking at the same time around the world wearing the same love shirt and hopefully listening to our Walk with Love playlist. and we really leaned into the current global desire to connect. It's a unique time where people, young and old, are using technology more than ever to connect with one another. And we emphasize building virtual teams and how it's a great way to bring friends and family together across the country or the world to walk with love. And so these elements were at the foundation of all of our communication and decisions for Walk with Love Virtual 2020, and one of the reasons why it ended up being such a success. Next slide, please. We are thrilled with the overall success of our virtual Walk with Love, and we're looking forward to future events to come. When we look back on all the pieces that Punita, Madison, and I discussed, we found 9 common threads that we really feel made the event a success. So grab a pen and write these down. No matter where you fall in your organization, community relations, events, marketing, these steps hold true and really helped us make Walk with Love one of our best. A strong team collaboration. Across departments and within, this held true. Strategic planning. Our foresight to plan ahead let us make decisions quickly because we had already planned for them. Be flexible and responsive. The ability to make quick and well-informed decisions in the moment allowed us to pivot wisely. Connect with supporters. Your connections are key within your organization and externally. Supporters and donors want to hear from you and are always happy to know that we are continuing on in our mission. Foster community. Right now, we all want and need community. Giving the people what they want, using the means available to us helped bring this home. Utilize technology. Recognize that not everyone is well versed in it and keep it simple. Give people the options to do tons of tech, so Zoom, Instagram, Spotify, or minimal tech like email, and let them make their own decision. Empower your network. Through our extensive outreach, we were able to reach our previous donors and new supporters as well. And we let them act as ambassadors for us. Even internally, we encouraged our staff to create their own teams and grow our circle. Engage consistently, whether it's over the phone, through email, replying, or liking comments on social media. Engage with your audience and be consistent about it. Communicate with confidence. Craft your message internally, make sure it's good and solid, and then shout it from the rooftops. Make sure donors know how to make donations, make sure the walkers know how to start a team, and make sure new viewers understand your mission and how to support you. By doing these 9 steps, you're on your way to your own virtually successful event. And with that, I will pass it off to Christopher.
Wonderful, thank you all. We've received some questions that I would like to pose to our panelists. The first one is about the use of outside consultants. Did we use any? And if so, how did we choose them?
I can go ahead and jump in there. I joined the staff a little bit after this happened, but we had a wonderful consultant who came in. She was very, very well versed in 5K events, walk events, large and small. And we found her through our connections here at the foundation. So I would say a really good place to start if you're looking for support and guidance on planning a walk that maybe you're less familiar with or wanting to grow an event, whether it's virtual or when in-person walks are able to happen again. Look inside your own team. Everybody here has their own relationships and connections, and that became a very valuable resource for us.
Great. Another question is about the toolkit being available to folks. I know that this webinar is being recorded and will be available on all of the foundation social media. But is the PowerPoint available, and are any of you willing to ask specific questions if folks would like to email you?
I can take that. Yes, PowerPoint can be available along with the video. And yes, I think all of us would be happy to answer any questions offline.
That's great. And the final one, for next year, do you think you'll go back to a live event, or will we continue with this virtually successful format?
I would love to answer that because it's something we've talked a lot about, and I've been very excited seeing the way that we were able to grow the virtual side of things. In the past, this walk has had virtual tickets available for people. You could register as a virtual participant, but those numbers were usually very low. It wasn't campaigned very. It wasn't prominent in emails because most of our supporters are local to California. So now we know that we can get a lot of support virtually across the world. And I don't think that that would take away from the local supporters that we have. So the answer to that question is we would like to do both. We think that we've done it virtually, we've done it in person. It's been successful in both ways. And I think there's a great opportunity to marry those two things into an even bigger, more successful event in the future.
Great. Another question, and this one I think is for you, Madison, as well. How were the shirts, how was the shirt distribution organized? And I'm laughing because I know the answer and it's pretty funny. So,
well, the shirt, in order to ensure the safety of our staff, I wanted to keep the shirt distribution as few staff involved as possible to make sure that that wasn't on a lot of people. So I did all of the t-shirt distribution. It was a very funny situation, and Christopher's laughing because we talked in the beginning, Panita mentioned we expected this to be a much smaller event because we had to make a shift to virtual. So we initially ordered a smaller amount of t-shirts thinking that we would have more than enough to cover the people that were able to participate. But in the end, there were many t-shirt orders that had to take place because of the incredible support we received. And basically what we did with those shirts was mail them individually to people. It was a very personal process. We did it internally. We didn't outsource that. So every t-shirt that was mailed out was personally folded and stuffed by yours truly with that touch of team love spirit. And one thing we actually did learn from this is that, and the reason I mentioned that in my portion is about shipping delays. There is a lot of shipping delays due to COVID-19. And I think it's very unique to this situation. If a virtual event was occurring without a global pandemic, I'm sure that that would not be as much of a problem, but it's definitely something to consider when you're planning to be mailing things out right now. Give yourself lots of time. We started shipping things out, I think a month and a half in advance is when we first did our, the initial wave of shipping. And then it was every single week, every couple of days towards the end, just making sure that those shirts got out to people. And in the end, some shirts were delayed, but we're continuing, our solution to that is that we're continuing the Walk with Love campaign at least for another month, just to make sure people know if your shirt arrived late, the walk isn't over. You can walk any day you want, take a photo in your shirt. You're still part of our team. So part of the flexibility point that we talked about is just, roll with the punches, make it work. But yeah, I hope that answers that question.
That's great. And the next question is more of an offer from one of my dear friends in Washington, D.C., Golnaz, who's willing to help us next year. So shout out to Golnaz. Thank you. We'll take you up on that. The next question is about the timeline. Actually, two people have asked about that. Panita, maybe you could answer that. Sort of how much time did we have between the event and the actual pivot in number of days or weeks?
Well, the Safer at Home order went into effect March 19th, even though we had been tracking it for a while now because of the pandemic. And so it was basically 2 months. I mean, right after that, we pivoted, decided what to do, how to make it work. So it was all unfolding in real time, our strategy. And Madison and Bailey shared some of the outlines of changing logistics, planning, communications, but it was evolving. So we had 60 days to put this together because we retained the same date for the walk. May 17th was our date. And initially we had thought perhaps we should change the date to later in the summer and have a physical walk. And then because we are known for our May walk and May event, we kept the date and just aggressively worked towards holding this walk.
Wonderful. Well, we're at time, and I appreciate everyone on Team Love, both serving as panelists and out in the audience, because I'm getting lots of messages from colleagues and board members. So thank you all. Have a very safe weekend, and we'll see you again soon, I hope. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Thank you.